the mouth of the shark? It is just as easy as making the top portion of the shark. Take a look down here. As we look at the mouth of the shark, you can see it really resembles the body of the shark that we completed, which makes sense because the mouth is actually going to go right here in this portion of the body. So you will make the mouth very similar to how you made the top of the body. You will start off with a chain 4 and you will work rows 1 through 4 just like you did the top of the body. Row 5 is slightly different in that you will simply do single crochets all across row 5. Instead of placing those 3 single crochets in the center, you are just going to single crochet all the way across, giving you 9 single crochets. Then the instructions have you go back for rows 6 and 7 and you will follow the instructions identical to the top of the body, which has you placing 3 single crochets in the center of the 3 single crochets of the row before. But what did I just say? We aren't placing 3 single crochets in the center of the row before. So what you will need to do is you will work 4 single crochets and then put 3 single crochets in the next stitch. Make sure you mark the center one and then finish with 4 single crochets. That'll be your row 6. Row 7 then will just build on row 6 where you will have single crochets all the way up to your marked stitch, place 3 single crochets into that marked stitch, and then single crochet straight to the end. So that's rows 6 and 7. You already know how to do it. Don't let it be confusing. It's pretty common sense and you can follow along with the pattern. Once you get past row 7, the instructions for rows 8 through 16 have you just single crocheting back and forth. So there is no shaping, there's nothing else. You're just creating a nice straight piece to the mouth. You can see here where I have used markers, that way I could count the exact number of rows I completed, and you can do that too. Once you've done the top of the mouth, you will then create the bottom of the mouth, which is identical to rows 1 through 11 on the top of the mouth. So once you've done this, you can do this. There's no need for me to show you how to do them. And you can see, once again, I did use markers to mark off the various rows that I was working. At this point, the instructions say that we want to seam together the top of the mouth to the bottom of the mouth. So what I wanted to do, because I didn't want to do any seaming with a needle, I decided that doing a slip stitch join would work just as well. So I have the top of my mouth right here and the bottom of my mouth, and I'm just going to set one on top of the other. And yes, the bottom mouth is going to be shorter than the top. I have left my yarn active here, so I did not finish off my very last stitch on my bottom of my mouth, and I'm simply going to go through stitch for stitch, so 1 stitch on the bottom and 1 stitch on the top, and I will work a slip stitch. So I will yarn over and pull that stitch through. So I have 2 stitches on my needle, my hook here, and I will pull that second stitch through the first. Hopefully, let me try this one more time. Go into the stitch, 1 on each side, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through. I'll go to the next stitch over on both sections, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull that loop through. I will do this all the way down, and what I'm doing is I'm joining the top of the mouth to the bottom of the mouth, so that way it will be in one piece. And this is important that you do this at this point in time, because once the mouth is seamed together here, we will add teeth to the mouth. So that is the next step. So we need to have our mouth completely joined. And again, I'm just using slip stitches to join rather than using the thread or doing a whip stitch or anything like that, because I felt like it was a good point to just use slip stitches through the work that we have active here, and then I don't have to weave in any extra tails because everything's already attached. And I can get through both stitches here. It gets a little tricky sometimes. As you know, by this point of working with the Scrubby yarn, you just kind of have to force your needle in or your hook in. What's great is the little nubbies on the yarn hide a multitude of sins. When you get to the end here, go ahead and finish off your work. And I'm not going to worry about having a super long tail for this, just long enough that I can weave in my tail later. And so this is what I have. I have the top of the mouth join to the bottom of the mouth. And I can go ahead and remove all of these stitch markers at this point as well. Once I remove the stitch markers, it's going to be time to work the teeth around the mouth. Once I get the teeth around the mouth, we are then going to join the mouth to the body sections that we completed before. The ones that I told you to hold off on and don't join yet, we will join the mouth to those after the teeth are completed. So that's the next step of this process. For the teeth, the instructions state that we are to hold the mouth open flat with the right side facing. So this is the side that's going to open up with the puppet. Then we are to join our color C, which is the coconut color, with a slip stitch to any row. So we're going to work along the edges around our mouth here. So I am just going to start here, right here at this point. So I will just go in and be willy-nilly with it. Don't really fret about how you're joining or where you're joining. So I joined with a slip stitch. I will chain 2 and then slip stitch in the second chain from hook. So I chain 2, I skip 1 chain, go into the second chain and work a slip stitch. So it's like a picot. So that's going to be a tooth, okay? Now over the next 4 rows, I will just slip stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, if you're not able to see the rows, that's okay. Just go ahead and get the stitches as evenly spaced as possible. Once you've slip stitched 4, you will chain 2 and you will slip stitch into the second chain from hook again, and that gives you a tooth. And you will then go along and slip stitch down the rows as evenly as possible once again and do another tooth. Pretty simple, right? Chain 2, put a slip stitch in the second chain from hook, gives you a little picot, and then you carry on, just working along the edge, just slip stitching all the way around. Again, it's just as even as possible. If you want your shark to have more teeth than what the instructions state, you know what? It's your shark. You can do anything you want with it. You could have a tooth every other stitch if that's what you want to do. It's completely up to you. Make it your own. Now that you have the mouth complete, we can go ahead and start to assemble our shark. And let me show you what we're going to do. Since we know the mouth opening is, pretty standard. It's set in stone. This is the way it is. We now know that when we bring in our body pieces, how it's going to be set up. So if we were to go ahead and take the bottom portion of our mouth and connect it to the bottom portion of the body right here, can you see how that works? We can begin to seam that into place. And we now know that this top portion would connect to the top portion of our body, and we can seam that into place. Once those 2 pieces are seamed together, we can close the mouth of our shark and then begin to see where the placement of our body pieces would go. So everything else would then be joined together really easily. You can decide if you want to use carpet thread or really strong craft and button thread, or just the Scrubby yarn to seam everything together. I will go ahead and use craft and button thread, and I will just go ahead and thread some onto a needle and literally just sew the pieces together. Once you have the pieces lined up, go ahead and cut your thread and put it through your needle, and simply make sure that the tips are lined up so the bottom mouth is lined up to the bottom portion of the body of the shark. And I am just coming down here and I'm literally going to go through both the mouth and the portion of the body that I'm working into. And as I come up, you can put a knot down there at the bottom to get it to snag. It's up to you. But then you can decide if you want to do a back stitch, a whip stitch, anything works for you just to seam the pieces together. So I decided that if I just went up and down through each stitch versus a whip stitch, I didn't want to do a whip stitch because I didn't want to see on the outside, but because of the construction of the Scrubby yarn, simply just catching the edges just like so nothing is visible as the stitches are worked. So it's all hidden. Nothing shows up at all. And I'm just sewing the mouth to the body, whether it's the top of the mouth to the top of the body or the bottom of the mouth to the bottom of the body. Once the mouth is attached to the body, you can then sew the body in place where it needs to be seamed. So you'll notice that there will be extra fabric that's not worked into the mouth. You see right here, here's the bottom of the mouth, and here's the bottom portion of the shark. And that section here actually will get sewn to that bit of the shark right there. So you want to make sure that we're going to sew this bit to that bit so that it's joined together, and this opening is left open so that way you can have your hand in there for the puppet. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get this all seamed together, and then I will show you how to make the fins, which are really simple, and then you will simply sew those onto the body and your little shark will be complete. You've assembled your shark and it should look a little something like this. I have sewn the mouth to the bottom portion of the body and the top portion of the body, and I have sewn the back half. And you'll notice I've only sewn the sides, okay? So I've only sewn the sides. I left the back portion where I will put the tail open. And the reason I've done that is because on the actual sample that was made by the designer, the back half is open. I can put my fingers in there. So I know that this back half is supposed to be opened, even though that's not written in there. And what will happen is when we make the back tail fin, we will sew one to this side and we will sew one to that side, and then we'll sew the whole two pieces together. And that's what I will use this long tail for. So that way you can see how to seam it on with the long tail of the Scrubby if you chose to do that. So let's go ahead and learn how to make this portion, and this is the tail. So you need to make two of these tails, and we are going to make the this whole portion of the tail first, then we will make the upper fin and we will make the lower fin all in one tail, and then we'll do this twice. Okay, so this is the first one, so we need to make the matching one to that. So I'm going to set this aside for now, and we will grab our glacier color again, and we will start with the tail. And the instructions say to begin with a chain 10. So I'm putting a slip knot directly onto my hook, and I will chain 10. Now I will put a single crochet in the second chain from hook and in each one all the way across the row. So I skip one chain, go into the next one, place a single crochet, oops, and then do one all the way across the row. So I will be left with 9 single crochets when everything is said and done. So there's that many, and I will get all the way to the end here. Hopefully by this point with working with the Scrubby yarn, you're able to really see where to place your hook. And you've noticed that it hides a multitude of sins. So if you accidentally skip a stitch or put 2 stitches into one, it really doesn't show. Once you get to the end of the row, we will chain 1 and turn, and we will put 2 single crochets into this first single crochet. So we will place 2 single crochets into that, and we will single crochet all the way across to the last stitch where we will put 2 single crochets into that one. And we will do this same portion of the instructions for this row and the following row, which will let us increase our total number of stitches by 4, because we are increasing at the start of the row and at the end of the row. So I'll get to the end here, and I will put 2 single crochets here at the very end. So that would be my row 2, and now I can do row 3. So I will put 2 single crochets here at the start, and then single crochet until I get to the last stitch, and I will put 2 single crochets into that last stitch. And that will put me getting ready to do row 4. And row 4 is really easy because it's just single crochet all the way across those stitches without an increase. So we know how to do that also. So I will go ahead and work my 2 stitches right here, and then I will do my row 4, which is a chain 1, turn, and then single crochet all the way to the end of this row. I still have 13 single crochet and I'm ready to begin row 5. So I chain 1 and turn, or turn and chain 1, your choice. I will place 2 single crochet into this first single crochet. I will single crochet in the next 4 single crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 2 single crochet in the next. So there's 1 and 2. Then it says that I will leave the remaining stitches right here unworked. So I'm going to leave those remaining 7 stitches unworked. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my marker at this point, and I am just going to mark the front of my work right here. And this will help me so that way when I come back to do this side of the fin, I know which side is my right side. So I am ready to start the instructions for the upper fin, but I will only work these upper fin instructions along this side of the tail. So for row 6, we repeat row 4, and row 4 was just the regular single crochet row, remember? So row 6 and 7, we just repeat row 4. So we are just going to single crochet across the 8 single crochet that we have set, I want to say set aside right here, okay? So I'm just going to do that for 2 rows. Once I finish those 2 rows, I will then begin a shaping row. So row 8 has us do a chain 1, and we immediately jump into a single crochet 2 together, which we know how to do because we did that on the back half of the body of the shark. So I went into 2 stitches and pulled up a loop for each one, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops on hook. Now I will single crochet in each stitch across to the last 2. So I just did those 2. So I will single crochet to the last 2 stitches. Here I am to the last 2 stitches right here, and I will single crochet 2 together again. So there's 1 and 2. And I will pull through and have those single crochet. That leaves me with 6 single crochet left. Row 9 is a repeat of row 4, which is just single crocheting all the way across. So without any shaping, I am just going to single crochet all the way across these 6 stitches. 5 and 6. Row 10 is a repeat of row 8. So row 8 is our shaping row. So we will begin with a chain 1 and turn, work a single crochet 2 together over the first 2 stitches. So there's my 2 together, and then I will single crochet into each stitch to the last 2 stitches. Here they are, and I will single crochet 2 together here. So I yarned over, pulled up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 3. So I'm left with 4 stitches. Now I will do row 11, which is a chain 1 and turn, and I will do a single crochet 2 together twice. So I will yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop as I work into both of those stitches. Get my yarn settled here. Yarn over, draw through all 3. And then I do that one more time. Go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. I'm left with 2 stitches, so on the very last row, which is row 12, chain 1 and turn, and I will work a single crochet 2 together over those last 2 stitches, and I can finish off my work. Now I'm not going to leave a super long tail on this one because I did leave one on the last bit of my body, which you remember, so I'm not going to worry about leaving a long tail with that. So that is the top portion, okay? So that's my upper fin. But now I need to come back over here to these stitches that I didn't work when I started working the upper fin, and I'm going to make the lower fin. So right here the instructions say with the right side of row 5 facing. So this is the side, and I know that because I marked that. Remember when I marked that stitch? So I can remove that marker now. The instructions say that on this row we will skip the first single crochet and we will join with the single crochet in the next one. So for a standing single crochet, you work with a slip knot on your hook. You place your hook into the stitch you want to do the single crochet. Yarn over, pull up a loop. With that slip knot on your hook and the new loop on your hook, it looks like a single crochet, right? So you yarn over, draw through 2. So that's 1. You will put another single crochet into that same stitch and into each stitch across to the very end, where you will place 2 single crochets in the last stitch. That will give us a total of 8 stitches for this portion of the fin to begin with. Now the instructions say we will repeat rows 7 through 12 for the first fin. So we simply go back and do exactly what we did for the first fin. So for row 7, that was a simple single crochet all the way across because it was a repeat of row 4. And then we will jump in to our shaping row for row 8. And we will begin row 8, which is our shaping row. I'll show you how to do that once again. You go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Go into the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, draw through all 3. So we did a decrease. Then we will single crochet all the way down to the last 2 stitches and work another decrease. Since I've already shown you how to do this, I'm going to go ahead and finish this fin. You do the same thing. Join me back here and we will join the fins together and then to the body. Lower fin. Once you finish the lower fin, it should look a little something like this. It's a little bit smaller than the top fin, but that's perfect. And once you make 2, they will fit together just like so. Then what you will want to do is bring in your shark that you've pre-assembled, and you don't want to sew the fins on like this, right? You don't want the shark to have fins like this. You want them to be up and down. So what you want to do is take the body of the shark that you've already sewn. Obviously mine looks really goofy with all the green and the blue. Yours will be one color. If you left a long tail, as it states in the instructions, this is where we can use it to seam together the tail on the back half of the shark. Go ahead and take your bent tip tapestry needle and thread your tail into the needle. And then we can simply match up each fin, the flat edge of the fin, to the flat edge of the shark. So I can use my tail here, and I am simply just going to whip stitch right through the bottom here, and I will start and just match this up, and I will grab over here to this edge and just stitch it together. And I will have this follow along all the way along this edge. And when I get up along here, I can choose to go ahead and seam this together here, or just flip this over, put this one in place, and then continue along this way, and then come back and seam this together. Flip this back over, and I'm literally just going to whip stitch along. What's really great is working with the Scrubby yarn. It hides so much of this, especially if you do it all in the same color. Once you've attached the tail, now we can go ahead and make the fin, which is really easy because we're still using single crochets. What's going to make this a little bit different than what we've done all along is we are going to couple a decrease and an increase within the same row. So what that will do is not adjust our number of stitches in that row, but it's going to make our stitches slant, which will give us this really cool fin look. So I've created one, you need to create 2, and I'm going to show you how to make the second one. For the top fin, you begin with the same color that you use for the body of the shark, and you start off by chaining 8 and then working a single crochet in the second chain from hook and in each chain across, giving you 7 single crochets. You then begin to work row 2, which is a chain 1 and turn, or turn and chain 1, and we will single crochet into each one of those 7 single crochets. So there's no increasing or shaping or anything like that here at this point. So I'm going to get across these 7 single crochets, and we will jump to row 3, which is where we begin to do some shaping. And row 3 begins with our chain 1, and we immediately jump into a single crochet 2 together. So we go into the stitch, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2. We've been doing this all along. And then we'll single crochet across to the last single crochet. So the last one, and we will put 2 single crochets into that one. So we are working an increase. So here's my last one, and I will put 2 single crochets into this last stitch. So even though I've done a decrease down here, I've compensated for it by placing an increase down here. So I still have 7 single crochets. I will then work row 4, which is a chain 1 and turn. I will put 2 single crochets down here, so I'm working my increase at this end. And now I will single crochet across the row to the last 2 stitches, and I will work a decrease. So I will work my single crochet 2 together. Again, that will not alter the number of stitches I have because I have an increase and a decrease. But what it's doing is it's starting to make my work slant. So that's row 4. Row 5, we repeat row 3. So we chain 1 and turn, do a single crochet 2 together here at the start, and then single crochet in each stitch to the end, and we will put 2 single crochets in the last single crochet. We're just getting even more of a slant. It's giving that nice fin shape for the top of our shark. For row 6, we will now do 2 single crochets in the first single crochet, and then we will single crochet in the next single crochet. So single in the next, and we will do a single crochet 2 together over the next 2, and single crochet 2 together over the next 2. So we did 2 decreases there, which means we did actually decrease 1 stitch, giving us 6 single crochets at this point. For row 7, we chain 1, skip our first single crochet, and we will do 2 single crochet 2 togethers back to back. So there's 1 and 2. Then we will do 2 single crochets into the last single crochet. So now we have 4 single crochets completed. If I were to set this down and you imagine the shark body right here, this is our nice fin shape. And I have my other fin shape right here, and so I can set this one on top of that one. And you can see the double thickness here is really great because it's really going to make the fin stand up from the body. I will leave a nice long tail so that way I can seam the sides of the fin together and then just whip stitch the bottom half of this fin directly to the top of the shark. It's really just as easy as when we did the whip stitch for the back tail to the body of the shark. I will go ahead and finish this off. So let me cut this yarn. I'm going to leave a nice long tail just in case I need it, so I can use it instead of using the sewing thread. Set these 2 aside. And the last thing you are going to make is the bottom fin. Now the bottom fin is super easy, you guys. You can do this without me having to show you at all. So you will chain 6, you will single crochet into the second chain from hook and each one across, so you get 5. And then rows 2 and 3, you will work the same as rows 2 and 3 of the top fin. So for rows 2 and 3 of the top fin, you single crochet across. And then row 3, we did a decrease and an increase. Row 4, you will do single crochet 2 togethers twice and finish it off. So you get this kind of slanted little fin here. And let me show you what it looks like on the sample. As I pull this over, this is the part that this little section attaches to. So it's just one little bit. This one is not double thickness. So you only need to make one of these. Once you make that, you would seam it to the bottom of your shark. You have the 2 right up here. This is the portion we just made. That is the top fin. Okay, so you sew that up there. The last thing for this entire shark is the eyes, and all you do for the eyes is you will use an embroidery technique called the satin stitch and some basic Red Heart Super Saver black yarn. It doesn't have to be the Scrubby yarn, it's the basic Super Saver black yarn. And by this point you can go into your Scrubby, you can put your hands in place, and you can kind of decide where you want to place the eyeballs of your shark. So you can plot out where you want to place those eyeballs and just use a satin stitch. If you are not comfortable with embroidery and you just want to do some straight stitches and make it really look cool, you can do that. Or if you want to use safety eyes, you could do that. You could do anything you want. So don't let the embroidery part fool you. You can do that. That's the last bit of your shark and it is complete. I think we're going to call this one Bruce. Absolutely, right? Fish are friends, not food, not food. Now you know how to make the shark puppet Scrubby, and I know you're gonna run out and grab yourself one ball of each color to make this super cute Scrubby. It is super easy, especially now that you have a video showing you each step of the way. You can decide to whip stitch everything together using the Scrubby yarn, or you can go ahead and go pick up some of that cut or craft and button thread. It's really thick and strong thread, and use that to whip stitch everything together, or backstitch things together, or just thread things together, whatever floats your boat. Just make the shark your own and make it fun. I know that somebody in your life is going to really enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this video and you'll come back here for more right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. If you do make the Scrubby, please share with me over on my Facebook page. I'll put a link right there at the bottom of the page so you can see exactly how to do that. Just come on over, show me what you made, and let me know that I helped you along the way to make this super cute Scrubby. Make sure you smash that like button, everybody, and I'll talk to you again soon. I'm Marley Bird, proud spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns. Bye! Did you enjoy this video for the Scrubby yarn? I hope you did. There are many more just like this one right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Be sure to check out all the other videos right here on the channel and hit subscribe so you're up to date whenever there's a new video released.